Hey everybody, welcome back to Byte Club, the monthly indie game club podcast. I'm your host, Nevin.
And I'm your other host, Jesse.
And this month we are talking about the Game Kitchen's Blasphemous. And just as per usual, the second half of this podcast is going to have spoilers out the wazoo. First half, no spoilers. So there you go, we'll give you a reminder warning when we get there. Also, quick announcement, I actually released a couple tabletop games this month.
Fuck yeah.
Skeletians and You Are in a Noun Fight. Skeletons is a fun game about being skeletons who work in IT. It's kind of like a weird heist type game. And Noun Fight is a postcard-sized game that's a mix of Mad Libs and a knife fight. Both are pay what you want and can be found at fork20.itch.io. So, Blasphemous is a side-scrolling, hack-and-slashing, Metroidvanian game that takes huge inspirations from the Souls series and a few other places, including Spanish folklore. It's got gorgeous art, fantastic music, and Jesse and I both have some feelings about this game, I think is a good way to put it.
That's the way to put it, I'd say.
We have feelings. So that's it, let's
jump right into it.
Let's get down to business. So we're actually starting to do little shout outs for cool shit that we find during this podcast. And the first one is Colicia's They Came from a Communist Planet. This is like a $5 game on itch.io, and it's about being anti-capitalist and leading a riot, and it's really good, so go check it out. Okay, so, Blasphemous. Jesse,
Yeah?
this is a game that
It's a video game.
It's a video game. It's got Ashen syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's so many things.
Can you be more specific in what you mean by that?
There's for our repeat listeners, you may remember there was a dungeon in Ashen that almost made both of us like completely quit the game. It's terrible. It's early. It's not even like halfway through the game, and it's just such a shit time. And a very, very large majority of this game has that syndrome. It's so reminiscent. It's like designed in weird ways that sort of counteract what's good about the game. In its systems, it really brings to the forefront like the flaws in this game's design. I don't want this whole episode to be shitting on Blasphemous because it has a lot of really cool stuff.
No, I think we both have a lot of nice things we want to say about Blasphemous that range from, its art, like you were saying earlier, and its music. Like we said, or like Nevin was saying at the start, this is a very well-produced game. Visually, audibly, like
it's cohesive.
Everything about its presentation is gorgeous. The writing, but it's really fun to look at and listen to, and I think it's a very good experience overall. The whole package is solid.
Like with Ashen, this is a good first go at this kind of game.
Yes.
Game Kitchen has made another game before. It's called like The Last Door or something like that. Completely different game from what I could tell.
Right.
I didn't look into it much, so if I'm wrong, at me, I guess. But man, there was just some shit later on, and we're going to get into this in the spoiler section, but like, I wanted to throw my controller a couple times, and that like never happens to me. It takes a lot for a game to just piss me off as much as this one did, and it's not even difficulty specifically.
Right.
It's not like this game is, oh, it's so hard, it's gonna make you want to rip your balls off. It's not like that. For elite gamers only. No,
nothing more elite than ripping your own nads off.
Do it, coward. But there are just some flaws in level design, and there are some bugs that I got very frequently that made this game extremely pain in the ass.
I don't know how this keeps happening, but like no matter what, you get bugs in a game and I don't, or I get them and I just don't notice them. So it sucks that you get, like, what did you have happen without spoiling anything that, like, really ruined the experience?
So I don't know if this is so much a bug as it is a flaw in the design or programming of the controls. I played on Switch. Let me clarify that.
Okay.
Because I was going on that trip to Colorado. I wanted to have the game with me so I could play it.
Right.
So I got it on Switch. But it seems to read movement differently from the D-pad and the analog stick.
Okay.
So like when you're moving with the analog stick and you jump like sideways, you can hold like diagonally up, and as you pass a ladder, you'll grab onto it and start climbing up. With the D-pad, you can't do that. You have to be holding to the side or up. The problem is when you stop holding to the side, your forward momentum like stops or gets cut really short.
Mm-hmm.
So there were multiple times when I would be using the D-pad, try to jump and grab a ladder over a spike pit, come a pixel short and die. That happened a bunch.
Yeah.
There were just like the last 2 boss fights glitched out multiple times in a couple of really dumb ways. And then there's just shit like, okay, what platform did you play on?
So I played on PC.
Okay.
And yeah, I didn't notice like a specific issue with the controls in terms of like how it read D-pad and how it read analog. I was playing this game in probably the most perfect scenario, I don't know for the developers, but in the most perfect scenario you could ask for. I was playing on my big low latency TV with my controller plugged in with, all the audio set up properly, so my timing wasn't off or anything. And the game controls bad.
Let me clarify too. This is both docked and handheld mode that I was having these issues.
So it wasn't, but it was Joy-Cons both times, yeah?
One with them physically
right, but still Joy-Cons.
Still Joy-Cons, yeah.
Okay. So maybe it's something with the way it reads the different inputs. I don't know if that's a thing on the Switch. I would assume it's not or hope it's not, but who knows? But yeah, in my situation, I never really ran into anything like different input schemes changing delay and changing sort of, like you were saying, when you jump, if you let go of the analog stick, it like cuts your momentum off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really...
Or it doesn't like cause you to drop straight down,
right.
But it does like there's at least to me, there was a noticeable change in the speed at which I moved in that initial direction.
Okay.
I think that's like the high level explanation of what I was noticing.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's just shit like I would try to do a pixel perfect like Mega Man jump where you get just on the edge of something and then you try to jump forward.
Right.
If you're not already moving forward when you jump, you don't get any of that movement momentum, which physically makes sense. But in a game about precision platforming over pits, it just leads to jumps falling short or not happening. Like there were multiple times when I thought I had the timing right on like a run up to a ledge and I would just press jump too late.
Yeah, for sure. That was a big thing was and that's something I noticed a lot in the game. It's something actually I want to touch on briefly.
I think that sorry, I think there are actually a couple of there's at least one specific jump that I do not think you can actually make.
Where is it?
It's in the latter half of the game. You're like using the wall climb and there are 2 platforms that are raising and lowering. You jump from one to the wall climb up, and then the second platform is close enough for you to make it to, but it doesn't get low enough for you to land on top of it. Your feet have to land on something in order for you to actually get onto it. If it's a moving thing, you can't ledge grab it. But yeah, there's just shit like that. That feels like it. I don't know. It felt like it wasn't tested.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that.
Or I am an idiot.
No, it's really funny that you say that. So what I wanted to bring up earlier, and I hate to be that fucking guy because it feels so gamer to say, did they even fucking test this? That's like the most
did they program this game
fucking
well?
Thing to say.
Yeah, we need to like clarify real quick that like we know that making a game is fucking hard.
Yeah, to quote Dwayne
like,
Oldwire, make a game hard. That's
if this is your first episode listening to the Byte Club, we don't shit talk games like this.
We do, but not like
this. But we're not like
we know game hard make. We know
get
that.
it.
We understand.
We know game hard make. We not gamers.
We know gamers. Yes, like the big thing here is that like at points it really does feel like, and this was something I noticed when I was a young boy and I'd like make video games for fun on my own. I would do shit that to me made sense. But I imagine if anyone else played it, they would never like go, oh,
yes.
There are parts in this where I'm like, holy shit, it's so specific. How did they even fucking think anyone was gonna figure that out? Like
one of the side quests for like a pretty key a movement item. If you want like the true ending, this game has 2 endings. If you want the true ending, there's a movement item you gotta get, right? And no fucking part of that quest chain is like hinted to you except the first one. That's it. It's fucking ridiculous. I had to look up so much shit to finish this game, and even then I almost didn't because I got real mad right at the very end. I took my Switch to work on Tuesday so I could play it on my lunch break, and I beat it. Fuck.
Yeah. It's definitely frustrating. Like, there's really no way to describe it, and other than it just being frustrating. And like, the thing that I think is the most frustrating is that the game, and this is what I want to touch on. We keep getting sidetracked. The thing that I think is most interesting about this game is that Blasphemous is a 2D pixel art Metroidvania style game, in that the map looks like it's a Metroid game. The layout is very Metroidy. It's very like, oh, you're going deeper and deeper.
You get,
or there's certain stuff you can't reach. You get movement upgrades,
paths, and all that stuff.
And it's very like, it's kind of hard to play the game and not immediately think of Symphony of the Night. I mean, the cathedrals, the allusions to
all the
to Catholicism,
the religious, and
like all that sort of stuff that comes to mind immediately. There's no moonwalk, so the game is garbage, but, you know, there's all that sort of stuff that reminds you of Symphony of the Night. But the game is also very clearly trying to be Dark Souls, in that the attacks are very deliberate. They're kind of slow, at least at the start. As you move on, you kind of get more movement abilities. It feels more like Symphony of the Night, but that's sort of what they're going for. The enemy design's very Dark Souls and less Castlevania. It feels like it's trying to be those 2 different games without realizing just how different they are. When I play Castlevania, once I get enough powers, which is something you get in this, it feels as though you're supposed to move really quickly. In Castlevania, once you get all of your movement abilities in Symphony of the Night, you're fucking zip, zap, and zooming. And it's the same in this one. I found that, like, after I unlocked some of the movement abilities you get later on, and once I really mastered the dash and got one of the add-ons, the little rosary beads that makes your dash timer reduced, like, I was just zooming around the map, man. I didn't give a shit. But, you know, there's that game. There's that game that I was playing in Blasphemous where you were zip zapping and zooming. It's a fun fucking time. I love to go fast. But there's the other game I was playing where there's insta-death spikes all over the map with jumps that are almost exactly the length of your regular jump arc, and if you do not time it perfectly, you will die. Like, there were enemies that would hit you if you're climbing up a wall with like awkwardly timed attacks. And if you get hit while you're jumping, you cannot reattach to the wall. You just fall down. And every time, it's a fucking thing of spikes at the bottom. I died more times in this game to just fucking up a jump than to literally any enemy in the whole entire game. I don't understand how you do that. Like, there's, to some extent, like, did no one play the game? Like, I hate to do it, but we're doing it. Did nobody fucking test this?
There's also instances of, like, there's instances of enemy placement that is really, it seems really poorly thought out. Like, there's, in Hondo, the Bell area, there's straight up 2 dudes who throw semi-tracking boomerang saws at you. Yeah. And they throw them in a pattern that makes it extremely difficult, if not near on fucking impossible, to get to them without getting hit.
So you can parry those.
You can parry those, but it pushes you back when you do. So you gain no ground. In addition to that, also in Hondo, there's an elevator where you go straight down, and on either side of you are 3 of those fuckers. Yep. There are multiple enemies with attacks that will stun lock you. There's a boss that if you get hit once, you're going to get hit 4 or 5 more times.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
There's multiple bosses like that. That's bad. It's full on bad.
Like, it's kind of hard to argue that sort of thing. And that's what I'm saying. And that there's 2 different games, right? Like, it's kind of hard to argue that game is not trying to be Dark Souls when it has like elements like that, where it's like, you're going to die no matter what.
Compare this to like Sultan Sanctuary. Right.
Yes.
That game, that's a 2D Dark Souls
Metroidvania.
Yeah. The only difference is that one's good. I mean, like, that one's built for single player or 2-player co-op. But like, there's clearly, when I think about them, there's clearly a lot more consideration put into the area design and all that stuff of Sultan Sanctuary. I don't know. This game's trying to have its cake and eat it too, and it's not. Whew.
It comes across really awkwardly. Like, I don't know.
Yes.
Every time I got into a encounter, I was just like confused as to what exactly was like. Either it's stupidly easy, like I don't know if you agree with this, man, but like I died to more common enemies than I did the bosses.
With exception to a couple bosses, I was able to beat most of them on the first.
Yeah, like up to 5 tries, I think, is what it took to beat pretty much every boss. But there were some enemies that I died to like 40 times. Because either their
just
placement
based on
was
their
better,
placements and like the way that the enemy works.
Yeah, like okay, there's one enemy kind of early on who is it's this like female sort of like witch character. She's got like this little cask. She's like
she throws a fucking pot.
She throws
at
a
you.
pot, but it's got like enemies in the pot.
She jumps.
So she chucks the pot at you, and you get hit with the pot, and that stuns you. If you dash past her while she's swinging it, you're good. But she chucks the cask or the whatever, the fucking pot. She tosses it back.
You're talking about the lady with the bell in the charge.
That's what it is. Yeah, the bell. But it like hurts you, and it has like enemies in it. It has like little arms sticking out and stuff.
Yeah. No. That's a corpse. That's not a living enemy.
Oh, okay. Regardless,
I did some reading up, and yeah, that thing stupid.
It does a hit on you.
You can touch it when it's sitting
exactly.
still.
It's sitting still. You touch it, and it hurts you.
Full damage and full knockback.
Yeah, like a full, like you're getting hit with a full swing, but it's just sitting still. If you dash past, the game is like really inconsistent with dashes too. Like your dash has iframes, so you can blink past stuff if you dash properly. But like only half of the time. And I get that like there are some enemies that are like big statues or big, just like hard to get past enemies, so you can't dash past everything. It would just make the game
that makes
trivial.
sense, right? Yeah.
But when there's enemies like that where you get hurt because you dashed past the part that you can dash past, but not the part that you can't dash past, or like that you can, but the timing's off.
I want to say real quick, I do want to say, just to anybody out there who has played this, like any of the people who like are really on the big ups on this game, I know that bell that she's swinging, or that metal urn or brass urn or whatever, is supposedly filled with like super hot oil, and that's why it damages you. That's fine.
Have
like
that in the narrative, but it
perspective.
Doesn't look like that, and nothing in the game shows you that you're being hit by that, and not just being hit by the fucking pot.
Exactly. It's not
It
good.
does not convey information very well.
I want to talk about some good stuff in this game.
I was just gonna say,
because we came in real
we're coming
hot
in fucking like a wrecking ball. The game is actually pretty okay. I think the voice acting is fucking great.
The voice acting is so good. It adds so much weight to it, like the voice acting, and I feel like most of the lines that they say are pretty fucking good.
Like if you get one of the abilities
nice
that
and
like lets you
juicy.
read what some of the corpses have to say that you find lying around the world, it's
So
really
good.
cool. Like it's
So
both
good.
hints, but it's also like
Very
narrative
poetic.
text, which is really cool. Like it gives a lot more flavor to the areas that you're in and the people that are in them. It's really cool.
I like the music is fucking phenomenal. Like this mixture of metal and flamenco and like other traditional Spanish guitar styles and all sorts of stuff. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, it's
like that music is very, very good. And obviously the art is beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Like the cutscenes are insane. It looks like someone almost like filmed real life and then traced over it. Yeah, RTX games.
I ray traced with my pixels, bro.
It looks like someone drew over each frame with pixel art. Like it is that good looking.
It was definitely referenced. It's extremely good.
Yeah, it's certainly referenced. But yeah, no, it is like original Prince of Persia quality in terms of like how smooth it is.
Yes.
It's very good.
Yes.
The cutscenes, anyways. The gameplay, it's still very smooth and very pretty looking, but the cutscenes are just out of this world.
There's like, it really is like the only comparison that I can make is to Ashen in that same way.
Yeah.
You know,
is that every part of it's good except for the part that you have to play, which is really fucking weird.
I still maintain that I still love Ashen.
There are parts of it that I like quite a
like,
lot. Yeah, for sure. Most of it.
It's like Blasphemous is being held back by what the developers wanted it to be, and that being too many things.
Yeah, 100%. That being Dark Souls and Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, two things that don't go together very well.
If they had made this strictly like Symphony of the Night, it would have
Yeah,
been great.
would have killed, no question. If they just made a
would've been
fucking
super,
Castlevania
super
game
fucking
and
amazing.
really dove deep on the religious stuff, we'll talk about the religious stuff later for sure. But if it dove deeper on that, like you were talking about when we were talking about it off podcast, we were saying like the game should have gone deeper into the religious stuff. It should have been either more clear,
deeper in a more obvious way, I think, is a thing, because I did do a lot of like reading.
There is a lot of visual stuff
today.
for sure that I noticed while I was playing.
There's a lot of visuals and a lot of references, not only to like religious mythos, but stuff from the town that the devs are from.
Yes.
Like there are things specific to Sevilla, Spain that are in this game, which is fucking cool.
Like that's something that I think can't be understated. You know, as much as we've been sort of talking about how the game isn't necessarily all that fun to play, or at points can be kind of frustrating, it is still something worth being praised that this game was made by people who don't live in America or Japan. Like that is so hard to find.
Yes, one of the key things that they actually mentioned, it was either in their Kickstarter or a devlog or something like that, but one of the things they wanted to do from the outset was they had this idea that like, we know what this fantasy that's inspired by Western ideologies or Japanese ideologies, we know what that looks like. We've seen it time and time again. We want to make a game that's a fantasy inspired by Spain.
Yeah.
And they fucking did it. They really, really did it. And I love that. There's a lot of things on that side, that aspect of the game is phenomenal. Yeah. It's just held back by having to. It's held back because you gotta play.
Held back because you gotta jump over fucking specifically sized, perfectly jump arc width, fucking spike traps.
Fuck the stupid heads with wings.
Oh
that
my
shoot
shit!
bolts.
I got one thing that removes knockback. And once I had that, I was good. But if you don't have that, like, God, the last half of the game is a fucking nightmare. Such a headache. So, okay. The game is, okay. That, my review, 7. I give 7.5. It, you know.
Yeah, I give it a 7.5.
It looked good. It sound good. It don't play very good, in my opinion. Like,
and it, there are a lot of people that love this.
Yeah, for sure.
There
are tons of people that are really
that,
into
really,
the lore
really
and really into the gameplay and the exploration. And I will argue, like, okay, again, more positive things to say. I think exploration in this game is fucking lit. When you find something
outside
new,
of two
zones. We'll talk about those later. But yes, for the most part, getting around in the game and finding new stuff is fucking awesome, man. Blasphemous does a really good job of presenting new areas for the player to find, smaller secrets to find, and puzzles that you can sort of solve on your own.
There's some really wild puzzles in this game that I just don't have the head for.
Yeah, it's insane.
And there's like the world really feels like a place. You know? There's a lot of really, really cool shit, and stuff connects in a way that makes sense. There are plenty of Metroidvanias where each zone might as well be like a different game. There's just games that do that where like it doesn't feel cohesive in like a Metroidvania. It's like, oh, now I'm in the ice zone for some reason, but this makes more sense based on where you are and where you're going.
Yeah.
And I have to give praise for that. The last really, really good game that did that was Hollow Knight. So I just wish I didn't have to play it.
We're so sorry.
We really are. Like, there are so many things that are so good about this, and I cannot stress that enough. It was just incredibly frustrating to play.
Yeah.
Outside of the middle 5 hours. This game's 18 hours long, Jesse.
Yeah, well, it took me 15, so I don't know, get good. But yeah, no, for sure. It
it
definitely is a lot longer than it needs to be. There's a good bit in the middle where it's literally a maze where you have to get keys to open doors. And it's just like really long.
That felt so good. I liked that area because it was different.
So yeah, it was different, but like at that point in the game, I was like, bruh, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care.
It's also one of the only areas where you don't have a shrine like right outside of the boss room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was annoying.
Very annoying. Because it's not even like a situation
Especially
of the enemies being
boss.
tough. It just takes forever to get there. God, that was one of the biggest problems too. Like, okay, in Dark Souls, when you have a distance between, okay, hold on. There's so much I have to explain. So shrines in this game, we haven't explained them yet. In Blasphemous, there are
They're bonfires.
shrines that, yes, they act just like the bonfires in Dark Souls. You rest at them, they recover your health, your bile flasks, which are this game versions of Estus flasks. You have a certain number of them. You gain more over time, you pay to fill them up, and you get more healing opportunities as time goes on. The amount they heal doesn't change, but your health does.
The amount of damage that you take from
Exactly.
does.
So if you don't get more flasks, you're kind of screwed. It's not like you can upgrade your flasks so that one drink heals you more. You just have to drink more flasks. It's kind of frustrating. Anyways, the shrines or bonfires, whatever you want to call them, every time you rest at them, they also revive enemies. So every time you die, you spawn at whatever one you used last. Exact same thing as the bonfires in Dark Souls. They just have a different thematic reason for being there in the game. Anyways, the frustrating thing, probably the most frustrating thing about this game, is that unlike Dark Souls, when you die and you respawn at a shrine, there are multiple ways to get to an area. And this is something that I think happens because the game is 2D, Blasphemous, but also just like the way they design the levels. So in Dark Souls, right, if you die in, say, in Blighttown, and you want to get out of Blighttown, there's like 4 ways out of Blighttown. If you die in an area in Blasphemous, there's precisely one way out of there. Like, maybe 2.
There's 2
maybe
most.
2. But that second path, right, from wherever you died and wherever the shrine is usually too far.
Further.
Like, there is no middle bonfire. And there are very rarely hidden shrines. And that's kind of a big thing, I think, as well. Where Dark Souls has bonfires that you can find while you're moving around the world, and bonfires you can find that are kind of just like in weird spots within a larger area that give you more opportunities to heal, that usually are harder to get to, but also are pretty worthwhile if you can find them, because they save you a ton of time. In this game, you find one, you find another, that's it.
A lot of them in Dark Souls are also like tied directly to some kind of a secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the one in Sin's Fortress, where you drop off a ledge onto like a balcony. There's a Titanite chunk or some shit down there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's loot.
Like, there are reasons.
This has none of
you
that.
get something out of that. But yeah, this game has nothing like that. Every shrine you get is a shrine you were supposed to get, or a shrine that you get because they knew it was going to be really frustrating if you had to go from the first shrine to the boss. And that's kind of it.
I like... What do you think about the movement upgrades in this game? There are a few that you get that sort of serve as, like, analogs to other Metroidvania upgrades. Like, instead of a double jump, you get the thing that makes platforms appear in certain spots.
Yeah.
Or you get a thing that makes, like, ladders grow out of the walls.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 core ones. There are a few others that are optional, but those I feel like you need.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're interesting, but I feel like they're also very limiting. I feel like the game is kind of held back by how it approached them.
So, I will say, I beat the game without them.
Without any of them?
I never got them. Not a single one. Yeah. And that's not me bragging. That's me being a fucking idiot. I just never found... I went back and got them after I beat the game, and I was like, how the fuck did I not get these? Like,
They're right there,
the
dude.
whole game without getting any of these. I know. That's why I'm like, how the hell did I do this?
I cannot fucking imagine beating this game without at least the sand platforms.
Dude, I beat it faster than you without any of that.
Yeah, well, I suck ass at games, Jesse.
I'm not giving you shit. I'm just saying that's my point, right? The developers clearly made the game so that it would work whether or not you got those. And that is something I think that's
pretty cool,
for sure,
yeah.
that you can do it without them. That really helps to the fact that while the world is designed like a Metroidvania, it does not function like one, which is cool. There are multiple paths to get around. There are different routes to do everything. So that is really cool. Like, apart from having to beat the first 3 sort of bosses to move forward, you kind of do whatever you want in whatever order, which is, it's great. I think that's a really good approach to the game. It's just, anyways, the movement options. I got them after I beat the game. I think because I beat it without using them, right? To me, they just look like opportunities to get more optional stuff, and less like things that actually made the game easier. I didn't find myself moving around better. I just found myself finding more shortcuts with those, which was great. But did that really affect my ability to beat the game?
No, not at all, clearly.
So,
knowing now that they're, like, entirely optional, why do have in game?
Yeah,
why? It's
just
another
a nice,
thing.
different way
It's
to
that
get
they
around
couldn't. It really does make it feel like they couldn't make up their mind.
Yeah.
And this could 100% be exactly how they wanted. They could have said this game is perfect, and hey, good for them. You made a game. It's good. Making a game is good.
Yeah, but then they worked with Team 17, and they were like, "Hey, this game's got to be like a little bit longer."
You don't
Just a little bit longer. Can you add a little more content to this?
You don't like the company that made the Worms games?
What do you mean? The good company that made the Worms games? Can you think of one good game you like from Team 17? I'm joking. That's
the
not
Worms
true.
games.
They publish a lot of good games. Fuck you.
They do good stuff. It's working with a publisher.
I'm playing.
I don't know. I have weird feelings about that topic of conversation.
It's a necessary thing for a lot of people, for sure.
Yes.
But whatever. That's besides the point. I was totally joking. I don't know if the publisher influenced the development of the game. My point is, though, it does feel like there are parts of it where it's longer because
it's like
I
a
don't know,
checkbox.
it felt like it needed to be. Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh, the game needs to be this, or it has to have that, or whatever. And that's fine if that's how you want to approach it. But at the end of the day, it hurt at least our experience of the game when by 10 hours in we were like, okay. Like, I have a rule now, Nevin, where if I'm playing a game and my instinct at any point is to turn on Kitchen Nightmares while I'm playing, the game is too long.
Oh my god.
I hit 10 hours.
Really good.
I was like, time to watch Gordon Ramsay while I do the same thing 40 fucking times. And I did the same thing 40 fucking times. And Gordon Ramsay told me how bad this company is. Look at these awful you. Like, it was great. I enjoyed playing
Gordon
while
Ramsay
listening
is
to
you,
Gordon.
and the chefs are the platforms.
There you go. See, why did nobody make a Hell's Kitchen?
Can we get a Hell's Kitchen platformer set in the world of Blasphemous?
Gordon, email us indiebytesyt@gmail.com. That's indiebytesyt@gmail.com.
That's not the email address. You can at least give out the right email address.
No,
for
that's
the
my
bits.
email address.
Oh, fuck.
Forget Nevin at indiebytesyt, indiebytesgamingchannel.com. Include the YT. It's in the email.
IndieBytes YT, IndieBytesGamingChannel.com.
There you go. Please register that URL.
I will not. I have too many domains, Jesse.
do you want to hop into spoiler town? Is that where you want to go right now?
Well, we actually have a few spoiler.
Oh, we have some questions. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the fucking dock open this time, so I'm just throwing some prizes at you, bud.
Fuck you.
So we have 3 foiler
spree questions. Let's hear
them,
buddy.
We got some foiler spree questions.
Do you have the doc open?
These are all 3, in my mind, the same question. So first up, from Snodzilla, one of our patrons, shouts out, will I come out the other side a better man? And then from Cruisingin, the Blasphemer, will I be labeled a blasphemer and be ostracized from society? And then from Daniel Santos, how blasphemous is blasphemous?
Damn. Yeah, really all the same question.
All 3. The answer to the first one, no. The answer to the second, yes. The answer to the third, you know what? I actually kind of want to dissect this one. Because it is a game that employs a lot of religious imagery. But it's like, for a fake religion. But it's based on real religious myths. Yeah. I don't think the game itself is blasphemous, but I think that the things you do within the context of the game are blasphemous in the game's world.
Well, I mean, are they though?
That's like the whole fucking point. Yeah.
I mean, the penitent one though. The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, but
what?
I'll talk more about that in spoilers.
What, are you trying to talk about the ending or something? What the fuck? Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, you're doing a lot of murder. That's the game. It's kind of hard to say that it's not blasphemous. Well, obviously, yeah. The title kind of gives it away. But it's kind of hard to look at like the assassinations or the executions you do on some of the enemies if you stun them and not be like, huh, it's a little fucked, huh?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize you could do that until the last half of the game.
Oh god.
And by that point, I only got like 2 or 3 more of the actual prompts.
Oh dude, they're fucking wild. Like you do a stab murder on a lot of people.
I got a couple of them. They're pretty fucking crazy, but for the most part, I ended up just hitting them because like I mixed up my X and Y buttons. I'm good at video games, Jesse.
Yeah, I know, I can tell.
You want to talk about spoilers?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about spoilers. I got a big old thing I want to talk about.
Fantastic. We're going to take a quick little break, and when we get back, it's spoiler time. So thank you to David Snotter, Mark B. Writing, Puking Goombas, Steve Z, and Storm Hughes. Your support on Patreon helps keep this ship running. And it's just great to see that y'all are supporting us talking about fucking video games once a month.
Yeah.
If you're curious about what kind of stuff you can get for being a patron, including like Discord access and voting on Byte Club games, head on over to patreon.com/IndieBiasYT. Kaboom. There you go.
Yeah.
That's the
Check
bit.
it out.
Welcome to spoilers.
Oh,
We're
shit.
gonna talk about spoilers.
Oh,
for this fucking
shit.
game.
The last
We're gonna
game,
do it.
the last part of the game, remember that? Ashes and shit. Oh, fuck. So,
this fucking last
if
boss.
if you beat the game, you know, final boss. Honestly, here's the thing, Nevin. Final
Okay.
boss wasn't that bad.
No. Fuck that. The final boss was terrible.
It wasn't that bad though. I beat it on my 5th try.
No.
joke.
It took me 20.
Okay.
Jesse,
Okay.
took me 20 tries to beat this son of a bitch, and you want to know why? It's because of bugs. There were multiple
Was it the lightning
times...
thing where you got hit by lightning and then died after it hit you 4 times?
No, okay, so that's one thing, yes. That was a huge detriment. But a lot of the bugs that happened with this boss fight were in his first phase.
Oh,
There were
really?
multiple times when I would, like, beat him, he would go into his death, but when you kill him... and he like transforms to his second phase, any projectiles that are on the screen do not get despawned. They stay there and carry on with their current trajectory, which means me, stuck there standing still because it's a cutscene, I get hit by 3 fireballs.
Oh, shit.
His arcane he has an attack where he shoots out like the arcane lasers, and it's like high, low, high, low. Yeah. They're timed in a way that you can't jump over one and then dodge over the other. Like, you're gonna get hit by that. Unless you happen to get behind him, which you can't always do. And if you do get behind him when he's in one of the corners, like, you're going to take collision damage. And there was one time, I shit you not, I killed him.
Okay.
Yeah, I killed him and I had a pixel of health.
Yep.
And one of the fireballs hit me. And I died during the scene transition to his second phase. I respawned at the shrine and the transition continued. And I was... at the shrine, but the screen was completely gray.
Oh my god.
There were multiple times where I would get hit right as I picked up like my bloodstain, and when you pick that up in this game, you heal and you gain like mana. But I would get hit right as I picked it up, and the health that you regain isn't instant. It happens after the text disappears.
Right.
So I would pick it up and then get hit and die.
Jesus.
Even though I shouldn't have. There's that final fight was a real piece of shit.
Yeah, it sounds like a nightmare. A kitchen nightmare.
Furious about it. Blah blah blah. It's raw.
I'm so yeah.
This fight is unseasoned.
Yeah, come on. No, yeah, no, I feel you. That is that's really frustrating.
I'm so fucking mad.
Yeah, rightfully so, man.
Ooh, I was holding that in for like a week, Jesse. I feel good. I got catharsis.
I could tell. All right, that's the end of the podcast, guys. Thanks for listening.
Great. See you later. The boss before him too she glitched out a shitload.
The lady with the hammer? The lady with the sword.
The lady penitent.
Yeah, who has the wing and the sword.
Yes.
I thought that was quite good, but also, yeah, I understand why that would be frustrating.
I think that fight is really good, but she kept, during her dash attack, she would end up off to the right side of the screen doing her attacks and unable to get back.
Yeah, I had that happen a couple times too, which is really frustrating because like if that happens, it doesn't just like end the sequence. She restarts it or like does another attack.
But you can't see her, you can't hit her. The only way to get her back on the screen is to walk into melee range, so she does her regular attack. And that gets her back onto the screen. So you have to take damage in order to fix the broken fight.
The way that I beat her was that like she would do that regular melee attack and I would just parry it. If you parry it, hit her like 2 times, parry, hit her 2 times, parry, hit her 2 times, and then she'll just go switch her phase and then come back and do it again, and it's just like, okay.
And all you do for that is you stand to the left side of the screen and you parry everything.
Yep. Because then you do it on the right. Because if she's on the right and you parry her and what she's doing one of like the forward dashes, she'll get knocked back, but into the wall, so she doesn't go far enough away that you can't hit her. And then you meme it.
I would do it from the...
I guess it would also work from the left. But if you did it from the right, I found that like...
because I didn't want her getting stuck off screen, so I did it as far away from that edge of the screen as possible.
Right, that's fair. That's fair.
There used to be I went to read up strategies for this fight, and there's one of the prayers that you can do shoots out lasers like horizontally, and you used to be able to get it to where she was just barely on screen and cheese her with that. you could just take her all the way down with that before the fight even began. They patched that out.
Yeah, fair. Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting.
Fuck. You had a specific area that I think you wanted to talk about. I know I did.
Didn't you? Wasn't it the same area for both of us?
No, I think we had different areas. I want to talk about the sleeping canvases.
Right. Yeah, you didn't like sleeping canvases. I didn't like.
I
the
hated it.
What was it? It wasn't the Art Cathedral.
Convent of the Charred Visage.
Yeah, Charred Visage.
It was the Charred Visage, the snowy area, like the lead up to the convent.
Yeah, so that was where I went first. Now, before I played Blasphemous, the full game, I played the demo. And the demo starts you in the area off to the right when you start. Like, if you just keep going to the right, that's the area you get. If you don't go all the way to the end of the first area, which has, like, that big brass door. And that was, I played that again. That was fine. That was nothing. But if you go up first, it's a fucking nightmare. You don't have any of the upgraded abilities that you would have if you did the other sections first. You don't have the stronger dash attack. You don't have the ranged throw, which you like definitely need for that section. Like, I did all of that without those abilities. Okay. It was a fucking nightmare.
Are you talking about the snowy area or the
snowy area before the cathedral area?
Okay, in the first half of the game.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I breezed right through that section.
Was that the first one you went to?
I had no trouble going through there.
That was such a pain in the ass for me.
What about it was a pain in the ass?
So
was it like the air blowing? Was it the
air flowing was fine. I think the hard part for me was like that was the first area I was playing of the game, and I hadn't really played like a 2D Metroidvania in a while. And I was like, I think my brain was still adjusting to what game it was. Mentally, it was Dark Souls. Gameplay wise, it was Castlevania. So I was trying to like figure out where I wanted to be in terms of those two games. I was treating it very carefully like a Dark Souls, but every time I got the chance to move, I was moving too fast. So for instance, there's those gaps in one of the later parts of that section where there's like a bridge, there's those little platforms on which you land on them, they fall like 3 seconds later, and there's gaps between them. And I would jump between the platforms and be fine. But say there's a part where you have to attach to the wall and then jump back or something. You need to time it so that an enemy who's attacking isn't going to hit you as you're jumping up, which is fine. But if you fuck it up, like I said earlier, you can't reattach to the wall. So I would just fall to my fucking death like an idiot, like constantly in one section.
Because of one mistake.
Yeah, and like I'd have to go back all the way through that area because there was no shrine until pretty much the end, which, God, that made me so mad. I think, it's really easy to get hit by shit in that area too. Yeah. Just because like there are those enemies that track you automatically.
The bell ghosts?
Yeah, exactly. That like they'll see you if you don't hit them after a little while, they just go to exactly where you are and like go in a straight line, and they're like a tall fucking board.
Yeah. No matter how far away you get from them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just super frustrating.
Yeah, it's real fucked.
Yeah.
Sleeping canvases. I'm mad that I hate this area so much because it admittedly has some of the cooler like lore and secrets out of the entire game.
Yeah.
But it's just filled with swinging axes and bottomless pits or spike pits.
Yeah.
I shit you not. There's the room right before the boss. You have to like climb up platforms with a whole bunch of swinging axes and like get up above them all to get to a shrine.
Right.
But the timing on them all is off. And also, so like you can grab and hang onto a ledge and you don't have to immediately climb or drop. But as soon as you start to climb up, it moves your hitbox to like full standing position on top of the platform. So if you don't wait until the axe is completely out of the way, you will get knocked prone and take damage as soon as you press up, even if you're nowhere near the axe.
Right.
On top of that, the pendulum timings are not consistent. They're like, I understand having pendulum A and pendulum B swinging slightly off so that there's like gaps for you to jump through and land and stand safe.
Yeah.
But on these pendulums throughout this area, that timing is constantly changing.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like the path out to the other region on the left, yeah?
That's one of them. Anywhere that there are pendulums, this happens. Where it's their metronomes set on different timers, but if they were metronomes, they would still be swinging like tick tick tock tock, right?
Yeah.
The gap between them is constantly shifting, which, speaking of, like, if you look at it from physics, kind of makes sense because some of them are on longer pendulums. Yeah. But there are areas where the pendulums are the same length and they still do this. And then you get hit and fall into a spike pit and die.
Yeah, which, great, good.
If I ever see another spike pit in a video game, Jesse?
An insta-kill spike pit that you have no way to recover from. That is like, it's not like Dark Souls again, where like it happens once or twice. It's all the fucking time.
I think it's interesting. So, like, one of the core designs of Dark Souls and, like, other Castle Metroidvania games is that you, like, grow in power as you progress. And the game eventually brings you, yes, you unlock new areas to explore to, but it also brings you back to where you started. There's only one time that this game does that, and it never does it again. But, like, one of the really cool things about that aspect in other games is, like, when I'm in Dark Souls and I go back to the Undead Burg, one of the first areas in the game, after I'm upgraded and kitted out and I know how this game works, I walk through there and I fuck everybody up. Anybody who ever looked at me funny or killed me, like, it's nothing. I parry you with my hands behind my back. I don't give a shit about this.
Yeah.
And you can tell that you have grown as a player and that your character has grown more powerful. There's none of that in this game. You do deal more damage. Enemies that took 3 hits now take 1, and that's cool, but you don't spend enough time. Like, you don't actually go back to the earlier areas enough for you to really notice that difference in power. You don't feel your growth. You just constantly feel like everything is just as difficult as it always was.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that even though, like, you are gaining more and more health, the enemies are dealing exponentially more and more damage, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
The numbers are bad, and you don't get any reflection in this game. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things this game is missing for me. Like, if it had that, in any degree, I feel like I would have liked it a lot more. With that,
you're definitely right.
With this one simple trick. Gamers hate him.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Like, it definitely lacks that feeling of progression in a more tangible way. Like, you're saying, like, if you go back to an area that really, unless you're going back because you want to get the secrets you couldn't get the first time because you didn't have an ability, there's no reason to go back there anyways. So if you didn't automatically kill the enemies, it would just be really frustrating and lazy. So they have to make it quicker to go through there so you can do the parts that you didn't already do because you didn't have the abilities that you get later on. Where the scaling doesn't happen over time and you never really see repeat enemies. You know, that was a big thing, I think, in Dark Souls. Like, you would kill a Titanite demon and then you would just see Titanite demons and it didn't matter. Right? Like, that sort of shit was really cool.
You knew you could take them. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like, there is no sense of that in this game where you see the same harder enemies that you would see earlier later for no reason, just walking around.
You see, like, newer versions of them, which is another thing that other games do. Like, seeing differently colored enemies, like, that's a thing. I get it. But you don't see... There are literally cultists that just walk at you with knives. You never see them again past before you get to the central hub town.
Yeah. And I don't
never see them again.
I'm not saying that you don't see enemies, because you do see regular, grunts walking around. You do see like bigger versions of, like, you see a statue guy and then you see a big statue guy later on, but you don't see bosses again. Like, you don't see truly difficult enemies in the game reappear as regular enemies.
There's one that you do.
Which one?
The first boss that you fight. The first boss that you fight, the Warden, when you wake up, the Warden of the Silent Sorrow.
Right.
It's the very first, the big giant. You see 2 of them. Two of them attack you at once.
That's pretty normal. Oh, yeah, like when they're shrouded or whatever. Like when they're silhouettes.
Yeah.
Which, like, sure, that's cool, but that's, like, not what I mean, Like, in Dark Souls, you fight the first enemy on that bridge after you get out of, or in the undead bird or
Oh,
whatever.
I know what you mean.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know what you mean. I just wanted to clarify. You do
For
see
sure. There is one
boss
particular
being used as a
instance where that
regular
happens
enemy.
again, and not even regular, like one other time that kind of feels like a boss fight without the health bar. Sure. And at that point, it's just dead easy to kill the thing, so it doesn't really matter. But it's still...
That's like that would be the one instance of that.
Yeah, that's
kind
the
of
game's
reflection.
closest
The one.
sort of thing. Which is a shame. I wish it had more of that.
Another man, there's a lot that I wish this game did. I wish that it had been more. We're going to talk about this with some of the audience questions, so I'm going to hold off on this. But you had something.
Yes,
that
I
you
did
wanted
have
to-
something
to
real
bring up.
quick that I wanted to bring up about religion in games, and how more often than not, religion is a backdrop for negative stuff instead of a means with which you could tell positive stories. So with Overwatch, there are levels in the game, and there are sort of presentations of characters from different religions, characters who believe in, Taoism in May's case, or Confucianism. Like, that's not really directly represented, but there are sort of representations of that in some of the skins that you have and the events that take place. Farah's Egyptian, obviously. She's got the horse tattoo going on and all that. So there's all that sort of stuff going on. There's lots of religion represented in that game in a way that doesn't really, I think anyways, that doesn't present the religion in a negative light. Like, some of the levels that you can play in show Middle Eastern cities in positive lights. How many games have you played where a Middle Eastern city is, or an Indian city is, not run down? How many games have you played where that's the case, right? So they show the future here.
Pretty much just Overwatch. Yeah.
Just over, which is super weird, right? That's kind of fucked up. But
yeah, I would say more than kind of. But
yeah, kind of a lot. My bigger point, though, is that like religion is typically used as a backdrop in negative ways. It's to show desolation. And in this game, it's really no different. Despite it being developed by people who work in Spain and people who clearly have some degree of affinity, or at least interest in the religion of their culture, And it's interesting to me that games always present religion in very negative ways. It's always something that's either included with bad stuff, if you look at Dante's Inferno or this game, or whatever sort of game that uses it in a violent way to show violence, within Catholicism or within whatever religion you want to point at. I think it's interesting that games do that religion is never a positive thing in games. It is always something that is related to negativity, which obviously I think for people who believe in those religions tends to be pretty, not offensive, but pretty against their own beliefs of it. Exactly, yeah. That's just something that I thought of when playing this game. It's just weird that it uses very Spanish Catholic sort of mythos, like you were saying, but it's not in a positive light. It's just to show you really fucked up shit. I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I fully agree, and I'm sure this goes without saying. I'm sure there's like a shitload of indie games that talk about like experiences with religion in all sorts of degrees, right? But like in the mainstream specifically, it is like you say, religion and the foreign, right? And big old quotes there are used as the backdrop for desolation and stuff like that. It's 100% true. I actually feel like this game isn't just using it as a backdrop to use it as a backdrop. Upon like reading about the creation of the game, there's a video by somebody called the Lore Hunter, who actually did like a lot of research into the creation of the game's world itself, not like in lore creation, but the work that the devs did in tying things together. And I kind of feel like it's entirely intentional with Blasphemous. Like the read that I get on this game is that it is very critical of corruption in the church.
Totally, yeah. And I mean that's a message that comes through in the game. And again, I'm not trying to say that this game
super fucking cool.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to say that this game in particular made me, go like, oh, finally I've realized video games always present religion as bad things.
Yeah.
But I just think it's
pattern.
interesting that religion is only ever really included with violence in this sort of way. And in negativity, like sure, it's good to be negative of Catholicism. I mean, there's a lot in the church all the way up that's pretty fucked up. But at the same time, it's just interesting to me that I don't think I've played a ton of games that are even remotely mainstream, like something with Blasphemous, that just, presents religion and is like, it's okay and good, maybe. Like, faith is good sometimes.
If there's a mainstream game that does it, I guarantee you that it probably doesn't use it as its like core focus. It's probably a side character. It's probably a detail for a side character or something like that.
Or it's alluded to it, but not presented directly. We can't say it.
Yeah. Which is really weird.
Yeah. Really strange.
Fuck, that's weird. Huh. Hey, listeners, if you know of any games that, show religion in a positive light, or spirituality or faith or anything like that in a positive light, I would love to hear about them.
Definitely, yeah.
Because that's a perspective, that we don't see a lot of in games.
Yeah. Anyways.
This game, I feel like I could talk more about this game for a very long time. I feel like we've been very negative about this game because it was a very negative experience, quite frankly. Towards the end of this, there were a lot of things that stacked up and were very frustrating, but I do want to say that overall, it's a good game,
I agree.
It's presented well, it's well produced, and overall, it's designed very, very well. The problem is, like with Ashen, there are a lot of things that detract from it and really stick in your head.
And like Ashen, like we said off podcast, it is the same exact problem of the things that are really good about this game are not exclusive to it, and if anything, are it just kind of doing what the better game already did. Dark Souls already did a lot of what this game's doing well, but better, and Castlevania, Symphony of the Night specifically, did a lot of what this game is doing, but better. So it's hard to praise it for doing something that somebody already did, and they're just kind of doing the same version of.
I feel like on principle alone, though, I feel like this game should be supported because it is a perspective that we don't see.
Exactly, yeah, I agree. 100%.
I absolutely adore all of the work that they did with bringing in this whole new side of folklore that we just don't see often. I love it. And I want them to make another one. If they did Blasphemous 2, it'd be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have no doubts about that. Just like if they made Ashen 2. Fuck. I feel like we were asked a couple of times in the Discord if we would actually like recommend this game. And I think I would, but just be ready for some frustration.
Definitely.
To put it lightly.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think that this is a game that is worth and deserving of time and money. Just, it's gonna make you grit your teeth a little bit, sure.
A little bit.
So we have a couple of audience questions that I really like, and these two are also pretty similarly tied together. So the first one that we have from our good boy Jacob Geller.
Oh, wow.
And he asks, do we think this game benefited from the Soul-style story through item descriptions? And I think that it was actually harmed by it.
Yeah, they definitely left a lot of the most interesting storytelling on the back of that. And it's very cryptic in its writing. So like the main stuff that you get is really hard to parse unless you read all that backstory. Where in Dark Souls, it doesn't present you with really any narrative in the main game. So you're free to kind of interpret it as you like. If you read the inventory stuff, if you read the item descriptions, you learn a lot more about it, which is cool. But if you don't do that in Blasphemous, you don't fucking understand what the main narrative is about. It's kind of insane. Like I went back and read a lot of the stuff. I was like, oh, what?
You can kind of piece it together. Like you get that like, oh, I'm okay.
So the overarching plot, yeah, basically. But like, Devin, what is that tree about? If you don't read the item descriptions, what the fuck is that tree about with the gold on it? What is that about, huh?
Oh, yeah. What? Yeah.
Doesn't make any fucking sense if you don't read the goddamn item descriptions that you get for some of the stuff around there.
Deo Gracias, like, tells you what the tree is.
He explains it, but, like, what does that have to do with anything?
He doesn't tell you what the fuck it means.
Yeah, like, you don't get that unless you read the item. Like, that's a lot of what you find, is there's, like, oh, something really cool, but if you don't read anything, you don't know.
I was trying to find any analysis of this game, like, any non-review analysis, and all I found were lore videos. But, like, as soon as I started watching those, I was like, oh... all right, then. Well, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been back of the box. It should have been front of the box.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
If all of the lore that was in the item descriptions had been within this 18-hour game, I would have understood why it was 18 hours.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. 15 hour. Yeah, no, for sure.
Shut the fuck up. Next question is from James, aka Hot Cider.
Oh, fuck.
And he is asking us, he says, I imagine you're going to answer the question of how closely it hews to a Dark Souls inspiration. So instead, are you still thrilled for Souls-likes, or do you think the genre needs to take a nap? I'm gonna let you field this one first. That's not an easy question.
Nah,
I think that's
it's a yes. Too lazy. Go bed. Go sleep. I don't want no more. I don't know.
I think there are good ones. I think there are good ones and there are bad ones.
There are great
you know?
ones. The Surge 2
Like,
is fucking
they're
lit.
fucking-
It's really fucking fun.
Really?
It actually
What?
is. Can you believe it? The guys who made Lords of the Fall and eventually made a good one.
The guys who made The Surge 1?
Yeah, made a sequel and it is better? What the shit? Yeah, it's,
What the
it's
shit?
pretty solid. I think there are... See, the thing is, Souls-like doesn't mean anything.
It encompasses a lot.
Like,
it encompasses
all
a
it
lot.
means is you die a lot, there are save points, and it's hard, and you have limited health. And that's kind of it.
To me, a Souls-like means like intense combat, like deliberate combat.
So
I won't say
obviously there are
intense, I'll say
specific
deliberate.
markers like that. Like obviously if you play Sekiro, you're
Yeah,
gonna be like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Dark Souls. You're gonna play the Surge, you're like, that's Dark Souls. Lords of the Fallen, that's bad. Like you're just gonna say that stuff when you play it. But when you're playing,
Man, I don't know about that Sekiro one.
someone's a gamer. Someone gamed. Jedi Fallen Order, dude. Actually a good game. I think there are elements of the Souls genre that I would like to see in other games, but Souls likes in that they evoke that same sort of feeling that Dark Souls presents. I want no more of those. Please stop. There's a reason the people who make those games don't make those games anymore. Like there's a reason they made Sekiro now instead because they were tired of it too.
There's kind of like, if something is a Souls-like, if something refers to itself as a Souls-like, I probably want nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
Because that means that they're trying to be a specific thing instead of trying to be their own thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what the differentiation like comes down to.
Yeah, no, for sure. 100% agree.
All right. Well, let's move on to the outro.
Yeah.
Get the fuck
let's-
out of here. I
let's go.
want to eat food.
Yeah, restaurants. So like Nevin did a little earlier, I'm doing a shout out for something that I thought was really cool that I think you should check out called Tomorrowed. It's a YouTube channel that covers a lot of different topics, everything ranging from music to games to movies to TV shows to novels. He talks about Flower Boy, Outer Wilds, and Devilman Crybaby, everything ranging from that stuff. He also covered Paratopic as well. So if you want to check that out, you can see a different take on it. So yeah, check it out if you're interested and find out more about why I love Tomorrowed on YouTube.
All right. Well, we did it. I feel like I can still talk about this game for fucking
Made it to the end,
ever.
man.
There's just there really is a lot to say about this
There
game,
is.
and I don't know. Just thanks for joining us for this month's episode of Byte Club. I'm exhausted from thinking about Blasphemous. I have actually. Oh, hang on a second. I have actually just been handed an envelope that says December's vote results
fuck.
on it. So I'm just gonna open this shit up, and there it is, like that paper ASMR. It is Mobius Digital's Outer Wilds.
Fuck yeah.
Outer Wilds. We really wanted to do this one, so this is like the second or third time it's been a voting option.
Finally, we get to do it.
So, The Outer Wilds is an open-world space exploration game about solving a mystery and listening to folk music as you coast through the inky void of a small doomed galaxy, and you yourself are stuck in a time loop. It's fucking aesthetic as hell, and I can't wait to like really dive into this. I've played it a little bit, and I'm jazzed.
Same.
If you would like to vote for January's game, head on over to patreon.com/indiebytesyt to learn more about how you can. The choices for January's games are The Red Strings Club, Lisa the Painful, and Deceiver. 3 very, very different games. And I, once again, all of these are good as hell, and I want to talk about them.
Yeah.
As always, we'll be talking about your questions about next month's game and chatting about them here on the podcast. So keep an eye on the Indie Bytes Twitter for the post that asks about them, or check out the website to send some directly to me. You can find Jesse on Twitter at Gorashia. You can find a whole bunch of indie game related content on Twitter at IndieBytesYT, on YouTube as IndieBytes, and at indie-bytes.com. This episode's music is from the Blasphemous soundtrack by Carlos Viola, and you can find it on his Bandcamp linked in the episode notes. Thank you again for listening. We are looking forward to getting your questions, and we will see you next month.